All right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I'm joined with Juan O Savin right now, and Pam Bondi is the focus on this podcast because I got to say, Juan, you came out a while back and said she's not doing her job. You were the first one to start really raising questions about this about 6 months ago, and and now Trump has put out a True
Well,
Social post basically questioning Pam Bondi.
gosh, I don't know what's going on there. You got broke up all of a sudden for a second. I have a great phone.
No, yeah, I said that. Well, here's the post.
There.
Donald Trump he's now questioning Pam Bondi that she's not doing her job, and he's demanding arrests, and she's not doing any of the arrests. Is this his way of putting her in the spotlight and exposing her?
Well, of course it is, and the question is, what would the consequences be? He has made a with her privately and more publicly that what's she going to do as far as her job? Remember, she's an appointee that had to be approved by Congress or by the Senate to hold that position, and so the problem is he had to pick someone that could get cleared by the Senate. He couldn't just pick any person. He had to pick somebody that the Senate would approve. So he had to appoint somebody that would get past that, especially early on in the administration. I told you privately, I think even the day that she was appointed, she was temporary. There's a lot of issues. She's really tied to the Bush family and Jeb Bush, and so there's a lot of pressure on her from the people that got her into this position in the first place, there in Florida, etc. As an AG for Florida, to not go after certain people. That's been in the background for Trump all the way along. She also pushed hard for the Chevron oil deal in Venezuela, which favored really Rockefeller interests and by extension the Bush interests also, which was very anti where the president was at. It was shocking, actually. It wasn't just surprising, it was shocking because at the same time that she was pushing that there would be an oil deal with Venezuela, which would have kept Maduro in power and given him money to fight with. Todd Blanche was working on the terrorism side of the Venezuelan government, where a $50 million bounty, first of all, Maduro was indicted by a U.S. Grand jury for his part in the drug running and terrorism like that, and then a $50 million bounty placed on his head. So how can you be both ways at the Justice Department, getting a bounty because he's a terrorist and trying to pass get a deal for Chevron that's worth tens and tens and tens of billions of dollars?
Would that be considered treason?
Well, I wouldn't say it's treason. It was asking for, was trying to push a deal that the Trump administration was going to have to, accept. But it certainly was at crossed interests, and counter to what President Trump is trying to do in the area. So,
So is this
is
a crime? Is this a crime of Pam Bondi?
No, it's not that it's a crime, but it certainly, from a political standpoint, is counter to where certainly this audience thinks we should be going. Where's the arrest? Trump himself, where's the arrest? They have plenty of evidence. They have plenty of material showing criminality. Why isn't Pam Bondi bringing stuff to grand juries and getting warrants for arrest? All the things that everybody in this audience are stressed out about. And, Brennan, clear cases of criminality. There's stuff being presented before grand juries. We actually have a whole bunch of indictments that have already been reached, even prior to the Trump administration, that no, just water for now. That has not been acted on. Thousands and thousands of indictments that haven't been acted on. So from before Trump was even in office, and so she's in the spotlight.
She's
Again, I
dragging
think
her
she's
feet, in other
temporary.
words.
Yeah, I think she's.
Does she know she's temporary?
Yes, I think that's always been part of the understanding. She was just staying at home, working by remote control for the most part for the last many months, and just making an appearance where she had to do a TV thing or a congressional thing or something, and staying home. And I think that's been very grinding, even where 𝗀𝗏𝗄𝐿𝐶e has been doing the interviews personally and having staff do them related to the people that we have here in the U.S. who are part of the elections in 2020. You still see it in the mainstream media. Election deniers and misguided, people, claiming election problems as though it's never going to get proven elsewise. Believe me, it's going to get proven elsewise. It's already, it's known behind the scenes in the open because those people are talking, grand juries are hearing the testimony. But if you get a grand jury that hears testimony is ready to, hand down an indictment, then you got to have a prosecutor that their Justice Department actually go to town with it. Pam's not doing that, and neither is her deputy. Todd
So,
Blanche, and so we got a
so
problem.
when can we see them removed, do you think?
Well, Trump can fire them at any time. He has that ability, and then you go through the process of getting somebody else in there. You can put somebody in temporary pending, approval by the Senate, like that. It could happen relatively quickly. Again, the problem is you have a Senate that is very adversarial. So what Trump would have to do is do something semi-nuclear to get something done, and probably would in this case.
It probably wouldn't be the best idea to do that as of right now, right? With us getting ready to
It
strike
probably would be.
Venezuela. It would
No,
be?
it probably would be, yes, because we're a year in. You only have so much time to accomplish the things that you're going to accomplish. You've got to set a tone, a demeanor coming into the 2026 midterms. And a lot of that means, meat on the table, red-blooded, get it done, serve it up, and let's, show what's really going on. That's why Trump is now changing demeanor himself. It's time. And if she's not the one to do it, then we'll get somebody else.
It's going to be a year of action. 2026 will be a year of action, correct?
I think that's an accurate way of saying it, because in the course of this, even Bondi may very well have to get things started. There's a point where the political considerations, friends, and everything else has to go to the wayside, rather than have somebody else have to come in and pick up the pieces and go, which could be, so let's say 30 to 60 days. Trump may be successful in getting her to do her job, if you will. Because remember, she only brings the cases. A jury still has to hear the case and, take it through to conviction. So being a stick in the mud only works up to a certain point in time. Then she's branded with whatever she doesn't do. If we end up with the arrests and convictions later, she'll get on in history as having been, someone who is obstructing. Remember,
Will she get in trouble for that herself?
Yeah, the details of what actually happened in the theft of 2020 and also the Russia stuff is so extreme. The detail is so fine that it will be something in the history books. if she's the one known for partisan reasons, even within the Republican camp, who stopped justice from moving forward, that's a black mark in her reputation. Really, she's still a young person. It'll follow her the rest of her life. So she may very well have to play, um, a part that she doesn't want to play, just because of the weight of history, the weight momentum of what's going on. She may get things started, but again, I personally think she's always been a placeholder while the situation matured, and now we're at that point where the situation has matured.
So
Remember,
are
Trump
we
had to get a
now?
whole bunch of appointees into office. He got them finally in. So the idea of having a backlog or holding up on progress, uh, now he can put the thumb screws to the Senate to, if he wants to bring in a different appointee, to
But
get
they'll
that
have to
appointee
okay it.
through. Yeah, they have to okay
But
anybody.
so then that's going to be, to me, I'm thinking that's already going to be a crooked. To
Well,
me, it's going to be a crooked process. And then, so when does this go military, Juanito? Will this cause
military
it
is
to go
something
military?
different. You're still, when you get to the military side of things, it's uh, there is an aspect where you know the real justice ends up being at the military, and uh, you can break through to that. In fact, even within the national emergency declaration regarding elections, and the military stepping in within certain category there as a matter of national security, that could be sent to the military on that basis alone. Yes,
So when are we
but
looking
that's
at this
not
going?
everything necessarily. It's huge, but
So how much
um,
longer are we going to be waiting for this to go military? How much more exposing needs to be done before this finally goes to the next level?
uh, actually, the material that's present right now is adequate to the task. There's not much more needed. If anything else is added on, it's now cumulative. Um, it's more than enough information to
Wow.
indict and begin the process. And the only other thing to add to that, Don Nino, is that the public's the key. You needed enough public sentiment understanding to be able to kind of carry the day. If it's too out of step with where the public's at, and I'm not talking about this community here that is, say, your listeners precisely, it's all the people out across, a more general audience, and you need kind of a consensus of the people at some point to carry the day. Uh, and it doesn't have to be 50%, doesn't even have to be 40%, but it probably has to be, um, a significant portion of the population that's ready to see this done, see the facts come out, see the pain of trials, and even as stuff might start over at the Justice Department, it's still ultimately the key stuff, the most important stuff will end up being over at the military because it involves treason, sedition, insurrection, etc.
That works. Juanito, thank you so much for joining me. I just want to do a quick update on Pam Bondi, folks. Leave your
Well, and by
comments
the way,
below.
hold on one second.
All right.
One other thing
All
that
right.
has to be considered here: we still have not seen the harsh action from Justice Department on Tina Peters.
Yeah.
Tina got her pardon from President Trump. You have people there in Colorado who should be under indictment right now within the government on numerous levels. Things that we know are, criminal within key players in the senior positions in the Colorado government. Those should be pursued this second, not just because of Tina, but because they're running a criminal cabal in Colorado. So things need to happen.
Got it, Juan. Thank you so much for joining me, Juanito. Stay with me just for a second, Juan.
All right. And you can tell, even the crowd that I'm with here, they're very upset about Pam Bondi. Do you hear how upset they are in the background, Nino? Pam Bondi, why? Get her out of here. Why? Yes, I agree. I hear the audience in the background joining us.
All right. Thank you.
All right, Dave.